Welcome to a TBS special presentation. Tonight, Barney Fife comes to life as Don Knotts, and your favorites from Mayberry celebrate 30 years of Andy, a Mayberry reunion, an exclusive premiere. Next on this TBS special presentation. The 1960s, one of the most remarkable decades of the 20th century. It was a time of brave leaders, sports legends.
I believe you hold it with the little end, see, and you hit with the big end.
And a revolution in music. It was a time of bold statements.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
I always enjoy a coffee break this time of day. It's kind of a change of pace.
And social unrest.
It's him, that animal, that creature. Who are you calling a creature?
Neil Armstrong journeyed to the moon and took one small step. But on October 3rd, 1960, a sheriff and his son took several small steps towards an old fishing hole and made a giant leap for television comedy.
Just remember, and don't forget, Mayberry is a friendly town.
Welcome to 30 Years of Andy, a Mayberry reunion. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Don Knotts.
Thank you. Couldn't get you the butt, eh? Well, I just want to say how happy we are that you came to help us celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Andy Griffith Show. And to help us celebrate, too, we have some of the cast. And first, I'd like you to meet Betty Lynn. Tell them hello.
Did you ever think the day would come when you and I'd be sitting here celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Andy Griffith Show?
Well, actually, you know, we weren't there when it actually started.
You weren't there when it actually started?
No, it started before that. It started on the Danny Thomas Show.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten about that. They did the pilot on that with Andy.
There were no real rural comedy, good rural comedy sitcom on the air. And of course, we had heard Andy do that famous football routine of his. And he was, I mean, ideal. And so we invited him as a guest on our show to do this episode about this sheriff who arrests the city slicker, etc. And we immediately discussed, we'll hold the phone, this is a pilot. How I got on the show was, I saw the pilot.
Oh.
The original.
Yeah,
the original pilot with Danny Thomas.
Yeah.
And I had worked with Andy on Broadway in No Time for Sergeants.
I know you did. Yeah.
And so I called Andy, and I said, I think you need a deputy. And he said, that's a heck of an idea. He said, why don't you call Sheldon Leonard? And so I did, and we made an appointment and sat down and talked about it, and, you know, went over some ideas about what the character might be.
And he let me cool my heels for the summer. Well, he decided, but anyway. Finally, we did the first show, The New Housekeeper.
It was never our intention to make Don Knotts a permanent part of the show. There was just one shot, and he would come in and out as a character and serve certain purposes, but we didn't see him as an essential part of the show. But I put together the scene. I remember the first scene that they played together was in the courtyard as he was, I think, washing his automobile or something like that. And they got together, and the punchline of the scene was that Don was to tell him how grateful he was for getting the job and how he appreciated the fact that he'd been selected because of his many qualities and virtues, and thank you, Cousin Andy. We never referred to that cousin line again. It was just a punchline to get a laugh. And the scene was supposed to be all built for that one purpose, for getting the joke over. But there was such electricity, such chemistry apparent on the screen when we saw it in the dailies the next day after we shot it, that we all looked at one another and said, well, that's it. Let's get him tied up. Let's make sure he's a part of the show.
Quick question for Betty.
Yes.
Did Thelma Lou ever find out about Juanita down to the diner?
Well, you know, Barney and I never really talked about that, as I remember. But I don't think Thelma Lou was any fool.
That character was never seen throughout the entire series. And yet, and yet it was like a real character that Barney talked to on the telephone frequently, and became a real character on the show, but never saw her.
That was the wonderful part of it, that there was always that anticipation that someday, and I used to think, gee, I hope they don't really ever put her on that show. They might get this adorable doll, and there I'd be gone before you knew it. So I kept saying, oh gosh, I hope he never really shows it.
Oh,
but it was one
you're
I was
adorable too.
Oh, I'm
Stay tuned for George Goober Lindsay when 30 Years of Andy, a Mayberry reunion returns.
Happy 30th anniversary to the Andy Griffith Show.
From our chapter here at Opryland.
And the Grand Ole Opry.
Here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Everybody says hey, hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Lindsay.
How are you? Isn't this fun?
Come over here, man. Just need it.
Wanna go around this side?
Oh, okay. Yep. Thank you. Good.
Lift it!
Judy, Judy, Judy.
I was supposed to have been Gomer, and I got the job, and they saw Jim working at the Horn during the weekend, which is a nightclub, and they hired Jim to be Gomer. And as Juanita, for 2 years or a year and a half, they talked about Goober. Andy Goober says, hey, says, tell Goober, hey, and I was almost Juanita. Like, I almost wasn't in it. But I remember going to Andy once, and I said, tell me about Goober. And he said, Goober's the kind of guy that would go into a restaurant and say, hey, this is great salt. So there's not much. It was a fun trip. The scripts were great. The actors gave you more than you needed in every scene, so you could give them back as much as they needed. And I remember he said, it was Goober and the Art of Love. Ron says, Goober, you're on a date. You're not taking medicine. And you said, isn't there some girl you like? And I said, yeah, Jane. You said, Jane who? I said, you know that girl that runs with Tarzan. It was, I really think we became those people. We literally became those people, and we had two lives. It was like living a wonderful fantasy. And I guess 30 years later, I wonder if Goober was that much of a fantasy. But I brought a little something here. I thought I'd...
Question for any of the cast members concerning Ron Howard. Did y'all have any idea that he had the talent at that time and that he had the potential that he's achieved today?
If I had known, Goober would have been Opie's best friend, I'll tell you that.
I remember, too.
Look at Ronnie and say, you're 5 years old, but I bet you're going to direct Cocoon. I made a big mistake.
I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. Who did you take dancing lessons from? I'd like to sign up for that school.
Well, they wrote it, they used to write in the script instead of in a dance scene, Goober dance. I don't know how, I guess, and most people dance like that in Jasper, Alabama. I'm not sure. You know, that thing I did, you know, that's the way they used to do at home. They'd say, well, you had a date last night, I understand. And they'd say, yeah. It just made up, you know. People from the country don't know that much about the lambada.
Don, did it take you a long time to get psyched up for the part of Barney Fife, or was that pretty easy to go into as a character?
Well, when you do a series, you don't start right in with the character. You build it as you go. And as far as Barney was concerned, I considered him to be just a kid, like a kid. He showed all of his feelings. I mean, you know, if he was mad, he looked mad, or he got mad, and he felt like crying and yelling, and, you know, and he was just, there was no control in Barney, and that's what I think made him funny. He was a little boy in a man's body.
George, do people still come up to you and ask you to do Edward G. Robinson, for instance?
No, they asked me to sew my fingers together, which I did in that episode, you know, where you go like... The Fun Girls was my first show, and for 30 years it's been Judy, Judy, Judy has been my life, and I don't really think Cary Grant ever said that. That was my first show. I was scared to death. I just was trying to get a job, and that's like the only show I didn't wear the cap. They created the cap later.
So that was gone next, Buster, remember?
No, I fixed it.
Oh, both of those girls were such great fun. And Joyce is one of the sweetest people I have ever known. But just to watch them work, because they were, it was such a departure from anything else on the show. And Betty and I were always jealous because they got to do ridiculous, wonderful, wild things. And Betty and I were both pretty straight, I mean, rather prim. And here these great-looking, silly girls get, you know, the smooching and all that sort of stuff. They were adorable.
Don sure is like Barney. You know, we did 3 movies starring Don, and Don and I were on the road a lot. We made The Reluctant Astronaut. We went to Houston. We went to Cape Canaveral. And he's just like, if I had a naughty little brother, that's Don.
Andy was wonderful, and Don Knotts is terrific. I was very fond of him, and I've heard since that he could be quite naughty with the ladies. And as a matter of fact, someone, Tom Poston, who's a very close friend of his, Tom and I did a play recently, and I said how much I loved Don Knotts, and he looked at me kind of funny, and he said, was he naughty with you? And I said, what do you mean, naughty? And he said, well, he does, rolling his eyes. And I said, no, we were just very good friends.
What about that?
I have no idea what you were saying.
Betty, you actually saw the show before, you were a viewer before you went in for the part,
Yes.
so you were familiar with it.
Yes, I'd seen it twice. I saw it the first time I saw it, and I've told this to people before, but it's true. I was watching television alone in my living room, and most things I enjoy the show, or if something funny or something, but I just kind of smile or be amused by something. But this show came on, and I'd never seen it. And I suddenly hear all this loud laughing, and it's me. And I'd tell people, it's the cutest show. It made me laugh out loud, I kept saying, which to me was something I hadn't experienced.
I wasn't invited, but I
can't.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Dodson.
Wait a minute. Nip it. Nip it, nip it. Nip it. I brought somebody with me.
Oh,
look who followed me. Get in here. Look,
and Hal Smith.
I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah. How are you, Goob, Dickens? It's Goob.
Is it really good?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sit down here.
good. Who else is here? Anybody else with
Nah,
us?
nobody you'd know.
Andy, I'd know you anywhere.
You're under arrest.
I don't have much to say. My purpose in being here is just to sit and be attractive.
I wonder, can I be excused just a minute, please?
Sure.
I'm not going to get another
I'll be
pop.
back. Huh?
You're coming back.
You coming back?
I'm coming back.
Oh, okay.
He'll be back, folks.
Open your lap, I'm going to sit on it. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
All right.
All right.
What has he got
Hal
planned?
Smith has a clip-on necktie, and he's going back there and put it on now, so he'll look better when you see him the next time.
Jack, you have had some experience, I understand, with people from other countries who have witnessed the Andy Griffith Show.
None of us sound at all, the people who do our voices in foreign languages don't at all sound like any of us. And they have a fella in Italy that has a real high squeaky voice, and he's a little on the silly side, to say the least, that does me. I wasn't too happy to hear that part.
You don't do that voice in Italian?
I had to put up with that for 5 years. And now I fly all the way down to Atlanta to hear all over again.
Hal, so now we hear your voice as the voice of Jiminy Cricket and, and Winnie the Pooh and some of those.
Well, that poor little Winnie the Pooh was a little fat bear with a big tummy, and I just love honey. Oh, bother.
And do quite a lot of cartoons. We do DuckTales. I do Flintheart Glomgold, who's an old Scotch duck trying to get richer than Scrooge. It says, Scrooge McDuck, don't you worry about that. The first thing you know, I'll get richer than you. I'll be the richest man in the world.
This is the Barney. Do you still have your bullet?
He's got his bullet up.
I'll tell you one thing. I've got enough bullets to blow up the world. People send me bullets. Everywhere I go, somebody hands me a bullet. And I don't know, how do you get rid of a bullet? You don't throw it in the fire.
Who was the Mayberry person through and through, real life and on stage also?
I guess it would be Howard McNear. I think off stage he really was Floyd the Barber. I never saw any difference when you talked to Howard.
Right.
I think he'd be the one that come mostly to never change, that he was just like that all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So why you do that?
You know,
It's Howard.
You know, Howard came to me one time and told me, he said, my son was out in the backyard and he was using a spray can of black paint. And apparently he didn't turn it upside down to let the aerosol out, and it stuck. So he went out and he said, give me that. And he took the can, he went inside and put it on an electric can opener, and it sprayed the whole kitchen. And I said to him, oh my goodness, what a thing. I said, what did your wife do? She said, he hit me with a broom.
He could take any kind of a scene and make it into the funniest thing. And we were sitting out one day, and the three of us, Andy and Howard and I, in a scene in front of the barber shop. He was reading the newspaper, and he said, Andy, did you know the dingo dog is indigenous to Australia? I said, I didn't know that, Floyd. Well, it is.
This is for any of the cast members. At what point in time did you become aware or have the feeling that the Andy Griffith Show was going to have the impact that it eventually ended up having?
If I remember right, we did the first 8 or 10 shows before we hit the air. And we didn't know what we had.
I think we'd have had different contracts if we'd read.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, the fact the show was always on top, and Don Knotts had 5 Emmys in a row from it.
The winner in Hollywood is Don Knotts.
Congratulations, John. Congratulations.
Oh, boy. I don't know what to say. All my life I've been a prepared loser. I do want to say a very sincere thanks to the Academy and to the members of the entire Griffith Company, and particularly to a very, very wonderful man, Andy Griffith himself. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And the winner is, thank you, Don Knotts.
Accepting the award, Don Knotts.
You know, for the first time in my life, I'm really shaking. I'd like to thank the entire Griffith Company. Special thanks to Aaron Rubin and Bob Sweeney, and especially to the big fellow himself, Andy Griffith, without whom I may just have well been parking cars here tonight. Thank you. This is too much. Would you believe this?
I really don't know what to say except thank you very much. That's it. So, thank you.
And the winner is... In Hollywood, the winner is Frances Bobbier.
I can only say thank you, and I appreciate it. Good night.
We were all rather boisterous and sometimes a little bit scatological, to tell you the truth, you know. And Frances was very much a lady, and she didn't participate in that.
She hit me over the head with an umbrella.
Did she? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're doing like a racehorse scene, and I came out with some wonderful expletives. And Frances was sitting behind me, and she hit me over the head with an umbrella, and she said, "We don't do that." Oh. And I never did it again, either. I was using bad language. and that's why I say she was Amby. She just knocked the fire out of Goober. I don't know if she'd hit me or not, but she really let the goob have it.
I'm just wondering if there's any unique real-life situations where the show or the character you played may have had an impact on something that happened in your real-life situation.
My mother called me Goober. And I know till this day she knew my name.
Hey, it's me, it's Ernest T. Hi, how are you, Jim? I'll get you over. Hi, it's nice seeing you. Oh, sit down! Wait a second, just a second. I'll get you. Bye! Nice seeing you!
Jim and I were always very fond of stones. I don't know if you remember a show where they were looking through Barney's old trunk and he found his father's rock. Somehow or other, rocks always struck us funny, and some guy throwing stones always seemed funny. Ernest T. Bass's name, my kid brother was working for a man named Saul Bass, who made movie titles. And on Mr. Peepers, Jack Warden's part was, he was the coach. His name was Frank T. Whip. And I always thought the middle T was nice, and we had the T. Bass, and I don't know where Ernest came from.
He was just so full of energy and just so wonderfully funny. And that was, by the way, the only truly broad, exaggerated character we had on the show.
Cousin from Raleigh.
Please welcome Howard Morris.
Thank you. What do you want?
Nine by four. Oh, God.
What did you expect?
I've been watching the show, and all I've been hearing is the lovely accolades being given to all you guys. And I just want to tell you all, I never really liked any of you. Yeah, no, I really didn't. You're too old. You're too Southern. You're too funny. You're too sweet. You're too tall. No, this is okay, candy. It's really a totally joyful experience. What else can I say?
Tell us where you learned the word accolade.
Where else but in a free America could a character like this get work? I mean, I don't know if it's common knowledge, but Ernest T. Bass, out of the 7 years, was it? 7 years, only appeared in 5 segments. And the reaction that he got, not me, I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the character, is certainly a tribute to the sickness in America.
I'll bet you they don't know that you directed a lot of our shows.
Yes, you did.
They know now, you just told them.
The clip that we just saw, what was that show?
My Fair Ernest T.
My Fair Ernest T. Mr. Schwump is in that. Mr. Schwump was an extra, and he had the worst toupee that was ever made in the world. It was this black thing, like a black pancake laying on top of his head. And he was this chubby fellow, and he had real bad false teeth, and it all was grinning like, you know. And one time, we were having a scene taking place in the lodge, and they gave Mr. Schwump a piece of business to do. The camera was to zero in, to start a close-up of his hand as he poured root beer out of the keg into his glass. And he was like this. He'd been on the show for years, but he'd never had a close-up before. And it was only on his hands, but he couldn't quite make it.
So sweet.
Ernest T., this is for you, okay?
If I'd seen you coming, I'd know what to do. I'd throw to both arms and I'd have wove at you. It's me, it's Ernest T.
Sit down. That's very good.
It's a good surprise.
Imitation being the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, you bet it.
Mr. Smith and Ernest T., I understand you both do cartoon characters. You were the original Barney Rubble.
Hey, Fred, let's go pull him, Fred. I was the original Barney. We did 5 episodes. I was working with Bill Thompson, who had a problem with his throat, and he couldn't do it. So Bill and Joe called us in and said, it's not working. I said, tell me it isn't. I know. So Alan Reed and Mel Blanc had been rehearsing it and practicing it, so they took it over. But I did, I guess, 95% of the shows anyway. Different voices, you know. Howard, you know, can I tell him?
If you like, I don't know.
You know the little koalas, koala bear? Well, that's Howard.
Yeah.
Tell him.
I hate Qantas.
How long did you do that?
I've been doing that for 28 years.
Good, great.
God. And right now I'm doing a character on Garfield.
Yeah.
Garfield and Friends, and I'm one of the friends. I play Wade the Duck, if you know that.
Wade the Duck.
It's a frightened duck. It's Don Knotts' duck.
I have a thing that I've been doing for McDonald's for 14 years, and it's one line. And every time we do commercials, I have to do that one line over and over. You know, just you have to be there to do it because they don't lift it from the spot that you've done. And the line is, I do the voice of the cup on the Happy Meal, and all I have to say is, get a regular size soft drink, huh? 14 years.
I've done a character for 14 years on Ronald McDonald.
Oh my!
Of the Hamburglar. And all I say is, rabble, rabble. They have 32 miles of tape on that, and I got to do it new every time.
Every time.
Yeah. And these are grown men.
Get out of here.
If the world had more Opies, if it had more parents like Andy, if it had a town that had the solidity of Mayberry, this would be a better world. A much better world.
Once you get the story idea, that's it. And we could write one in 2 days. Sometimes we would write a script overnight, once we had the story. Of course, we were good for nothing for 3 days. Thereafter, I'm sure if I did it now, I'd be dead.
My name is Brad Camp, and on behalf of Freed-Hardeman University in Henderson, Tennessee, on this 30th anniversary year, we would like to say... We love Barney!
Down is so nutritious because you make it with milk,
Oh, sure.
You don't believe that horse could enjoy the recipes you get on every box of Jell-O pudding? Could you, Blackie? I wouldn't lie to you about Jell-O chocolate pudding. Try Jell-O pudding and pie filling. A creamy, easy answer to what's for dessert. Good. I appreciate it, and good night. Howdy.
Sheriff Taylor?
Yes, sir? Summer's Town is so nutritious because you make it with milk.
Oh, sure.
You don't believe that horse could enjoy the recipes you get on every box of Jell-O pudding? Could you, Blackie? I wouldn't lie to you about Jell-O chocolate pudding. Try Jell-O pudding and pie filling. A creamy, easy answer to what's for dessert. Good. I appreciate it, and good night.
Al, tell the story about when you drink the concoction in the episode Dogs.
My goodness. Well, Andy mixed the concoction. Well, actually, the prop man did. I guess it was his hands. I can't remember. But they put a raw egg in that thing and hot sauce, which I didn't realize they were putting in there, and that egg never broke. And when I got that drink halfway down, that thing stuck in my throat, and I thought I was going to choke to death. I just like this, and then I came up and said, well, that was pretty good there.
I have a question for all of you. Your family, did they watch these episodes?
We force them to watch.
I have daughters 19 and 22, and they watch them all the time. I don't watch them, but they do. It's difficult for me to watch them. I don't know why.
There's a funny thing about watching yourself on film or tape. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't particularly. I see all the errors and all the warts and hairs, you know.
I must say that for myself, I think that's the only show I ever really enjoyed watching myself on. Most of the stuff I did and do, I don't like to watch, don't watch. But I did watch that, particularly when we were doing it.
My daughter, when she was little, never could figure out how Daddy was in that little box, that little television box. She'd try to reach up there. Yeah, my kids love the show. Absolutely love it. And I watch.
The episode where Fife burned the bridge going into Mayberry, and I was awarded the plaque. He was about, let's see, Terry was about 6 or 7 years old then. We were three of us, his mother and myself, and Terry was sitting on the end of the Davenport. And when it came to the point where I finally got the award, I looked over, and the tears are running down that little boy's face. It just hit him absolutely some way, and he cried. And I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Oh, I don't know, Dad. I just can't help it."
I think they were all proud, too, that we had a job.
Yeah.
Up until I did the Andy Griffith show, I was, I made out like I was a doctor to my kids. I brought a doctor's bag home every day.
All the actors have such different backgrounds and ways that they got to the show, and I asked Jack Dotson how he came to come on the Andy Griffith show.
I played a small part of an insurance salesman. And from doing the insurance salesman, I guess it went well enough they asked me to do the show on a regular basis.
Business. They can tell you about a time in their career when it was the sweetest time in their life, when it was the most fun, when it was the most fulfilling creatively. And that's what the Andy Griffith Show was for most of us in our careers. We all look back fondly on the Andy Griffith Show. It was the sweetest time in our life.
Jack, what was going through your mind looking at that?
Yes? I was dangerously attractive when I was young like that.
Well, there were a lot of dangerously attractive bachelors in Mayberry. I wanted to ask Betty Lynn how she thinks Thelma Lou might describe one particular one named Barney Fife.
Oh, golly. Well... Yes, he is. He's a rogue. And he did have a way with women, I think. They were attracted to him. I sure was. Well, he was lovable. And I still love him a lot. So, there.
Thank you.
Yes. I have a request for Ernest T. I remember some of the episodes you did, a lot of fancy footwork, some dancing. Would you mind showing us a little bit of your dancing skills?
I don't know what you mean. Is that the sort of thing you had in mind? Thank you. That's enough.
This question is addressed to all of you. Do you have any special projects going on, or are you looking forward to?
40th anniversary. Yeah, you said it.
Bravo! What's our next gig, right? It's just an excitement. What are you going to do? You're going to fall in it? Let's gather around and blow. It's just an expression. Hit it with a rock. I can hit it with a rock.
Looks like a way back horse.
Yeah.
Happy 30th Andy Griffith Show, for heaven's sakes.
Happy 30th anniversary to the Andy Griffith Show. And thanks to all of you who have been supportive through the years. It's been wonderful.
Happy anniversary, Andy Griffith Show. Long may you wave.
I wish the Andy Griffith Show a very happy anniversary. I had a happy time with Andy on the show.
Well, I'm here to wish my dear friend and former partner, Andy Griffith, a happy 30th anniversary on television. It was a happy day in my life when you arrested me, Andy, and I've heard you say that a happy day in your life was when you arrested me. So let's keep arresting each other and stay friends. God love you.
happy 30th anniversary to the Andy Griffith Show from an admirer.
The